Start by telling us a little about yourself, your own story of how you became a Christian. I love it when interviews start by asking me about my conversion. The older I get, the more thankful I am for the opportunity to become a Christian. The more thankful I am for the beauty of the Christian worldview, and that I was saved out of a very secular way of thinking. So I was raised in a Lutheran home. Oh, guys. When I was told my mom I was coming here, she said, "You realize that your grandmother and grandfather are buried in the cemetery in Portland." My grandfather was a chaplain in a hospital here in Portland. So I have some roots here that I didn't even know about. Anyway, but they were, so my dad, my grandfather was Swedish, and so we were Lutheran, by necessity. You're Swedish, you're Lutheran. About halfway through high school, I started asking questions about my faith. So, I'm in a public high school, so all the textbooks are secular, all the teachers are secular. And I just started asking, how do we know Christianity's true? That's it. Just how do we know it's true? How do we know we're right? And it seemed like the rest of the world is wrong. It seemed kind of presumptuous. I talked to a Christian college professor. I said, point blank, why are you Christian? He said, "Works for me." Yeah, that's what my response to. What? That's it? And then I had a chance to talk to a Lutheran seminary dean, and I thought I'd get something more substantial from him. And all he said was, "Don't worry, we all have doubts sometimes," as though it were a psychological phase and I would outgrow it. So I finally decided perhaps Christianity didn't really have any answers. And I decided I very intentionally, very deliberately walked away from my Christian upbringing. To me, it felt like a matter of intellectual honesty. If you don't have good reasons for something, you shouldn't say you believe it, whether it's Christianity or anything else. So about halfway through high school, I started on a search for truth. I decided if I couldn't get any adults to answer my question, it was up to me. And I literally started walking down the hallway to in the public high school I attended, to the library, and pulling books off the philosophy shelf. Because I thought, if I can't get any live adults to talk to me, maybe these dead guys can help me out. After all, isn't that what philosophy is supposed to be about? It's supposed to be, what is truth? How do we know it? Is there a foundation for ethics? Or is it just, true for me, true for you? Is there a meaning to life? And I pretty quickly realized that if there is no God, the answer to all those questions is no. There is no meaning to life. We're just a cosmic accident flying through space. There is no foundation for ethics. It is really just what I value versus what you value. I even came to feel that I became a skeptic. There's no foundation for knowledge. If all I have is my puny brain and the vast scope of time and space and history, what makes me think I can have some sort of transcendent universal truth? Ridiculous. That's how I thought of it. Ridiculous. Obviously, we can't know any sort of real truth. So it was a couple of years later that I ended up at L'Abri in Switzerland. And we had lived there we had lived in Europe when I was a child, and so I had gone back. And that's how I stumbled across L'Abri. And let me start with some pictures. So there's Francis and Edith Schaefer. It's the ministry. They were the ones who started and ran it. And I was stunned by this place. I had never encountered any Christians who could answer my questions. And they were not only intellectually engaged, but they were engaged in the arts. The term cultural apologetics, which some of you may have heard that term, it was coined to describe what Schaefer did, because he not only looked at worldviews and evaluated them, but he looked at ideas as they percolate down through cultural forms, through art and literature and music. And so it was fascinating because it covered the whole person, right? Ideas and the arts, the creative and the cognitive. I was so impressed that I left. I stayed a month. And then I was afraid I might be drawn in because it was so attractive. And I did not want to do that. Christianity had already let me down once before. And I was not going to come back unless I was intellectually convinced it was true. So I left so that I had space to think. But because of, let me show you a few more pictures. So L'Abri means the shelter. It's French. And this was the original chalet. By the way, chalet sounds like some luxury home. No, it's just the kind of homes that people live in Swiss Alps. Farmers live in chalets. And what happened? You have to see the Swiss Alps. Imagine waking up to this every morning. I used to say, if the apologetics doesn't persuade you God is real, the sheer beauty will. And actually, I'll show you a picture of me. I'm the second from the right with the long hair. About 2 years ago, I was looking for pictures of Labrie on the internet, and I found me. What? I didn't have any pictures from back then. I was just a teenager. So I found this picture of me. And as you can see, the students were all hippies. Which was another reason it was so interesting. Wait, who are these Christians who are able to reach across the cultural divide to these disaffected young people? Like, who are these Christians? And this background is really what explains why I'm so passionate about apologetics now. I really have a heart for helping young people who have the kind of questions that I had. And the questions have shifted, though, in our day. Many people are no longer asking, is Christianity true? They're asking, why are Christians such bigots? And so my goal in my book, Love Thy Body, is to give you the tools to debunk those negative stereotypes and actually to turn the tables to show that it's actually the secular view that is dehumanizing, that denies the value and significance of the human body.